Welcome back to JKMoto Podcast, a weekly motorcycle podcast for the everyday motorcyclist, covering current bike and racing news, specializing in track riding and club racing, and this week, custom suits. We truly do it all. This week, once again, we are brought to you by Working Class Customs, which is a custom fabrication shop out of northern Utah. You can direct any more questions on that to Cole.
Hey, that's me. I'm
That's
Cole.
And I'm Easton, and your two favorite hosts of your favorite weekly motorcycle podcast.
Hey, guess what?
What you got?
I have to hurry and throw this in because I know you'll run over me and you won't want to talk about it, and you'll go to the intro and you'll do all that stuff. But there was a Supercross race,
Oh my goodness!
but there was a new.
Okay,
there was a new rule that I thought. Well, not a new rule. There was a rule enforced that was kind of crazy. Kind of wanted to see what you thought about it. So, the Australian with the mostest, Mr. Jet Lawrence, wins everything. So in Supercross, if there's a yellow flag, it's caution. But when there's somebody hurt on the side of the track, they'll put out the red cross. That does not stop the race, but under a red cross, only in the section where the red cross is thrown, you are not allowed to leave the ground.
Okay.
So it bites people occasionally. They'll not see the flag and they'll double a jump or something and then get penalized.
Right.
But it was another Triple Crown event, which I taught you what those were.
Yeah. Did learn.
So second race of the Triple Crown, Jet Lawrence coming to the finish line, leading. Nobody close behind him. There's a standing red cross flag right at the finish line jump.
And
he jumped it. But technically, the flag was after the jump. So he won the race before he passed the penalty.
Okay, which way did the judges rule on that technicality?
That's where it got amazing. So he, midair, jumping the finish line jump, looked over, seen Freezy laying on the ground underneath him. He basically jumped over him. It's one of the biggest jumps on the track. He basically jumped over him. He looks over. When he lands, he punches himself in the helmet. He punches the gas tank. He knows what he did. He comes off the track just freaking out. They do his interview for the first place finish, and he's up there saying, almost in tears, because he knows something bad's going to happen to him or whatever. And they went and did a couple more races. The announcer said, we don't know what's going to happen. We haven't heard down. We don't know if there's going to be any punishment. Technically, the race was over. He jumped he passed the checker before he passed that flag. So what are they going to do? What are they going to do? And it goes to another race, and it finally comes back. And not only Jet Lawrence had done it,
everyone else.
5 other riders did it behind him. And so, my boy Jason Anderson was one of them. And so they started going through the penalties, and Jet Lawrence got penalized 2 spots. And Chase Sexton got penalized 2 spots, and on and on. Like, there's like 5 or 6 riders that get penalized. And then they're like, Jason Anderson penalized 4, because he not only jumped the finish line jump on the last lap, but he also jumped it on the white lap. So,
all right. Well, that's funny.
It was good stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. That's good.
I know you're trying to get to our guest. Little hint.
Yeah, we do. We're gonna have the founder and co-founder of Bison Leathers on tonight. Hopefully, teach you guys a little bit more about what they do and what we believe to be one of the top custom suit options in America. Hopefully learn a little bit more about that. Tosha and Robert. Before we get them on, though, I got to get a weekly tip out of here. Out to the world, not out of here, but out of my mouth. That's what I meant by that.
Well, spit it out, man.
Are you ready? You ready for that? Okay. All right. This week's weekly riding tip, once again, brought to you by Josh Bittinger over at Bittinger Motorsports. Josh says, follow and trust the process. Learning to go fast on a motorcycle is a journey that can't and shouldn't be rushed. Trying to jump right into going fast, riding beyond your ability, and skipping over valuable lessons will likely end with you and your bike out in the yard somewhere, hopefully without injury or taking another rider out with you. Seat time, and more seat time, while having the discipline to work on specific things each session is the best way to build a truly solid foundation of riding. Be sure to enjoy the ride, have fun, and don't rush it. And that is this week's weekly riding tip. Trust the process and do the process. Don't just trust it, but actually do it. So,
Well, why don't you take some of that into account and quit trying to rush this podcast?
will you calm down?
No.
No,
Don't rush.
I like that tip a lot, I think.
Well, sometimes, you gotta, I'll add to that tip. I'll add that just trust the process, but every once in a while, don't forget to look back at where you've come from. Because sometimes you can get in a rut and you just think, you're stuck somewhere, but trust the process, keep watching.
Go back and look at pictures from your first ever track day, or look at your lap time from your first ever race, or whatever it might be. But yeah, I mean, I think Josh has got some good merit there. Just realizing that you're not going to get wicked fast overnight. Some people do. There are some people that are blessed like that, but there are definitely things that you have to learn that if you start off wicked fast, you can learn those lessons the hard way. So anyway,
without further ado, thank you, Josh.
Yep. Thank you once again. Binger Motorsports. They operate out of MSRH. Go check them out. The link will be down in the description if you're looking for rider training. Also operate with Ride Smart. They ride all over Texas. So if you're in that area or nearby, or you want to ride COTA, those guys to do it with, click the link down below. How about we roll that intro and get Robert and Tosha on here?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yesterday at one point, I was in sixth. 153 miles an hour.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, welcome back from the intro. We got Robert and Tosha over here, and I'm actually going to turn it over to you guys if you guys don't mind kind of giving us a little introduction. I thought, I'll let you know, with our first guest ever, we tried to do our own introduction for him and then realized that I never know what you guys actually want to say and what, Also, your guys' names are pretty good, but I've had some names that are not the easiest to pronounce, and so I just usually am like, yeah, hello. But anyway, so if you want to introduce yourselves and kind of give us a quick rundown on what you're doing, and then we'll take off from there.
Awesome. Well, I'm Rob, and this is Tosha Lackey. So we are the co-founders of Bison, and we started this company about 5 years ago. We make custom motorcycle gear, specializing mainly in suits and gloves, but we also do accessories. So undersuits, knee pucks, we have helmet bags, lots of apparel, cool stuff like that. But really, suits and gloves are kind of our bread and butter, and we're expanding that lineup. Actually, we've done street stuff, for instance, jackets and street gloves for a long time, but we haven't really broadcast it. We've kind of been afraid to open Pandora's box because we know that's a whole different realm, and we've been really busy, even though we've been growing the team and adding team members, been really busy just trying to keep up with the racing and track day enthusiasts. So just trying to stay in our niche and really focus on just doing one thing and doing it really well. But now we're ready to kind of take the next steps. So
moving forward. Good deal.
That's right.
I mean, Cole back there has a little bit of experience with your products.
Yeah.
I have not. I'll be honest. I haven't purchased a Bison suit yet. I do plan on it, most likely.
Cool.
We'll see.
Awesome.
Maybe, depending on how tonight goes,
There you go.
But can we get I think we want to spend most of the night talking about Bison and kind of what's over there. But can we get a little bit of history, backstory on you guys? Why motorcycles? Why suits? Why?
Yeah.
What led us here?
For sure. Yeah. You take it?
No, go for it.
No. Okay. Yeah. So I was racing, of course. I was racing with CMRA down mostly in Texas, and I was doing full seasons and kind of getting a little faster, slowly but surely. I'm not a natural talent. So to your trust the process point, just kind of trying to get a little better every year. And I started to get to the point where I was like, okay, I might go to white plates here, and I'm starting to get some sponsors. So I need to start putting patches on the suit and everything like that. And maybe this plain black suit isn't going to do the trick. Anyway, so I started looking, and I'm like, there's like $600 suits, which are, frankly not that great. And the customer service, you're ordering from somebody overseas, whatever. And then you've got like $2,000, $3,000 suits that are great, but I don't have that kind of money for a suit. Like, that's almost what I had in my race bike at the time. So I'm like, why isn't there something in the middle?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've always been a gear connoisseur. So before I started riding on the track, even when I was riding on the street, I would get friends crashed gear. They'd say, oh, I crashed these gloves. I guess they're junk. And I'm like, hold on, can we have them? I want to take them apart and see if I can fix them or see what's inside of them. I was like, always intrigued by that. I'd buy any jacket that came up that was in my size on Craigslist. I'd buy it, compare it to my last one. And I just had a bunch of gear for no reason. But once I started getting on the track, of course, that took a different step. And so I'm like, it'd be cool if there was something in this wheelhouse, in this price point. And Tosh and I had a business before, and it went okay, but I kind of started thinking about doing this gear thing. And she's a CPA. So as I'm racing and it's expensive, she comes to me and she's like, you know what? Cool if we could find a way to make a buck at the track somehow. And also we could kind of write off some of this racing stuff. And I'm like, oh, dude, I've been talking to some people in the industry. I think I've got an idea on how this can go. And I'd already made some contacts overseas. Anyway, one thing led to another. And we spent a year and a half doing product testing with our overseas supplier, our first supplier. And eventually we got a Bison name on it. I wore it for a half season, crashed the heck out of it because I was going for a championship. And so I started to cross that threshold where I wasn't very fast, but I was trying to go for a championship. So I was crashing.
Okay.
And
hey, I mean, good product testing, right?
Bingo. I always tell people a funny story. To this day, we don't sell anything that I don't crash first. So
okay.
At least wear.
Well, I at least wear it, but I try to crash it. And so I had our first pair of gloves. I was at MSRH down in Houston, and it was kind of sprinkling out. It started, Houston's just a terrible track anyway. And I came through this left-hand corner, and the bike just let go. And I have this 360 cam on my tank. I've got some great still shots from it. And I put my left hand down, and the bike kept going. I just stayed on the throttle like I thought I was going to pick it back up. I don't know. And as I'm sliding, I get to the point where, well, I guess I'm going to tuck and roll. And I literally thought to myself, wait, this is product testing. I'm just going to stay on my hand. I just stayed on my hand the whole time. I hit the grass, tumbled, and the bike stops tumbling. I stop tumbling. I'm out in the distance, and you see me stand up, and the first thing I do is look at my hands and go, yes!
They work. We're good.
So, yep. But,
you wouldn't think people have time to think about something like that, but, I can say I went down in a brand new Shoei helmet. And my only thought was, hold your head off the ground. Hold your head off the ground as I was sliding.
Don't get been there.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Time definitely slows down when you wreck. Not to have too much of an offshoot, but similar. The first time I wrecked, I specifically remember when I get off the track onto the grass, I'm gonna hop up and run it off like they do in the videos all the time, which is what I did. I accomplished that. But later I learned that you have to do that because a lot of people will stand up and immediately fall back over because they're still moving 20 or 30 miles an hour and they don't realize it. So anyway, definitely have time to think about it. But
that crash that I was just talking about, once I hit the grass, I was still on my side. And so I was sliding and I got up because the grass was wet. I was like, I'm just going to surf a little bit and I'll start running. And same deal. I was going like 30, 40 miles an hour. So I stood up, slid, and then took like 3 steps and then just went. I was like, they say, man, don't get up until you stop moving because you're going faster than you think you are. So, but the whole point of all that was I crashed the heck out of that gear. My friends saw me crash it, and they're like, all right, what's this Bison thing? I'm like, guys, this is my company. I'm starting next year. Tosh and I are doing this. It was the last event of the year that I told these guys. So I like 5 of my closest friends that raced with me there in CMRA. I said, I need you guys to buy these things and wear them next year. Just trust me. And they're like, they're all in Dainese, Alpine Stars, and they're like, really? Like, come on, man. Like, there's enough people doing this. I said, just trust me. I'm going to do it different. And so same deal. They got them next year, started crashing the heck out of them. And then it just kind of took off. So, yeah. That's
so
how
before we get too far away or too far down the story, you mentioned tearing jackets apart, seeing how they were made. Do you have some kind of like I don't know if that's a proper way, but sewing background or an interest in that kind of stuff?
I did so in high school because I took home economics. So I had to in Iowa. But no, I like working with my hands. Actually, our last business that we had a body shop. So I did paint and body work on cars, a lot of custom stuff. So I'm acclimated to working with my hands anyway. But no, I mean, honestly, I didn't get behind a sewing machine aside from high school until I found myself in a position like where I needed to, where we're at a Moto America event and guys are crashing. There was nobody there to fix leathers. And I'm like, okay, I got to get a sewing machine. Like we need to get a sewing machine. So then I just watched every YouTube video possible. I took a bunch of sample leather, sewed it together. It's a 100-year-old Singer sewing machine. So I had to take it apart, put it back together to make it work.
I have a really great photo sequence of him at the track. It was at Barber, actually. We rolled up to Barber. He put the back of the toy hauler down and he's working all night. And then I have a picture of him he had fallen asleep next to the sewing machine trying to get these guys things sewn up. And then he literally popped back up and just started sewing again.
5 in the I woke back up and I just sat up at the machine and just started sewing again.
That's good. Oh man, the dedication right there. That's good.
That was a rough weekend though. It was rough.
Sounds like it. Oh man. All right. What was I going to say? So I didn't realize you guys so you started in Texas then?
Yeah. Well, so CMRA is mainly Texas. It's Oklahoma, Texas, depending on the year, sometimes New Orleans, so Louisiana, but mainly Oklahoma, Texas. But I would say 70% of the racers are from Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's why we named the company Bison. We're actually in Wichita, Kansas right now, which is where we're both from. That's where the headquarters is for our business. But we started the business in Oklahoma City, and then we were racing in Texas. So we kind of wanted a name that would be a nod to that corridor, where we started the business. And if you think of Bison, you think of an awesome, tough American animal, and leather and all these things that go with the name. So it just fit.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was going to be one of my questions tonight, so I'm glad we got that.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and address it is not made out of bison leather.
That
is the next question that always happens.
I wasn't going to ask that because I kind of figured it wouldn't be, but I mean...
You guys know better, but...
Yeah.
It's always people's first or second question.
But you had to expect that, right? Putting
the
name Bison on there, I had to expect that. So
it was a problem with SEO early on.
Yeah.
Because when you search bison leather, you get a bunch of actual bison hides. And so bison leathers, bison leather suit, whatever, it would be all bison. We'd be buried pages down. And it's taken a lot of time and money, but we're now at the top and we've overcome that. But it was something we didn't think about.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I Googled it. I'm on your website right now. And I Googled bison leathers and you were the first and second hit. So congrats. We're there. You're good to go.
It's finally coming around.
Yeah.
So other than your website, I think maybe it's unique. It's somewhat unique to me, but can you talk about how you get your name out there at all these local club events?
Yeah, we've really just taken kind of a grassroots marketing effort. We started Bison in September of 2018, and about July of 2019, July of 2019, we started realizing, hey, we're going to have to hire somebody, or one of us is going to have to do this full time or something. So we were kind of in unique positions with both of our jobs at the time, and it kind of just aligned that we were like, let's buy an RV. sell our house. Originally we said sell. We kept it for like a year and a half, but let's go on the road full time, just travel racetrack to racetrack and try to build the brand. And that's what we've done for the past 4.5 years.
Yeah. We're in our RV, which is our house right now. So,
All right.
And Robert, do you still throw the bike on the track everywhere you go?
not everywhere. For the first year, we had a toy hauler. We used to have a Thor Outlaw. We still have it. It's for sale, by the way.
Please buy it.
But we had a toy hauler because I'm like, we're going to haul a bike everywhere we go. Plus, we're going to put all our inventory in the sewing machine and all that stuff in the garage. And
we're going to do our own QC and shipping and receiving on the road. We had great, really big aspirations.
We're like, I'll be able to run everything out of this RV. And it was like the first shipment we ever got to an RV park. Our whole RV was full of suits and gloves and pit shirts. And we're like, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's a whole other story. But I hauled a bike around for the first year. And then at the end of the season, I was like, I hardly got to ride it, and it's that whole like making your passion, making your hobby your job thing. I knew it might happen when we started this, but I also knew that I wasn't going to race forever. I told Tosha when I was riding on the street, and then I said, hey, I really want to go racing. And she was like, seriously? And I was like, just give me, this is a bucket list thing. I was 40 or 38 at the time, 39, 37. I don't know. I was in my late 30s. And I'm like, my clock's ticking. I want to do this while I can. I said, give me 3 years. And so I knew that I wanted to stay in the paddock after that because the paddock is my happy place. Y'all are my people. We just love being around everybody. So I said, all right, this company is a way for us to stay around and stay in the paddock. And also, I always wanted to be a pro racer of some sort, cars or motorcycles or whatever. And that's not going to happen. So to see, riders out. Well,
right?
yeah, no, I know. It's terrible, right?
Hey,
negative.
Trust the process. You gotta.
That's a process.
You're right. Yes. But yeah, it's like I see the racers out there with our stuff, and it's like a little piece of me out there, and I'm like, all right, cool. Just being in the paddock, supporting those people is good. But I still get to ride. To answer your question, like last weekend we were at Hallett for CMRA. And Carter, our 17-year-old son, he and I did a 3-hour relay together on a Ninja 400. So that was a lot of fun. I tried to sabotage it. Lap 3, I crashed. And so he spent a bunch of time fixing the bike, but we got him back out there. So we got our seat time and we had fun.
Yeah.
People start saying, don't let him ride your bike. He's just going to test out his suit.
Yeah.
Dude, it was my buddy's bike too.
Yeah.
So,
that's the first time we've crashed in a long time, though.
It is.
Honestly.
It wasn't my fault. I false neutral. It's a video on our social media. I tipped in the corner and you can hear it go clack, clack, clack. And then the rear end locks up and it just high-sided me going in. It was weird.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So
Strange.
It is pretty cool. Like, the community is so awesome. They always want Rob to ride with them. So we'll be at Road America and they'll be like, hey, here's this bike. You can go ride. Yeah. Hey, here's this track day. Like, I'll buy you a track day, like
people always trying to bribe me. No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Well, we have great friends and we have friends all over the United States now, literally. So there's always people like we were at Road America, to her point. I'd never ridden there, but we've been there so many times. And we had a group of friends from Oklahoma come up and they're like, Rob, you got to ride Sunday. Like, you got to ride. We all had our track time all weekend and we want you to ride a bike. So there's a fully carbon fiber Ducati V4R, like all carbon bodywork, Termi one-off exhaust on it and everything.
Did you put Alpine Star's suit back on just to make sure you didn't have that, like, should I wreck it or not? Or
I know, right? Oh, man. Yeah, I was like,
he chose
I didn't do that. I was like, dude, if I drop this bike, I'm not going to be able to pay you for it, like for the cracks in the carbon. But there was a S1000RR and then a built R1, a new R1. And I chose the S1000 because it's an older Beamer. And I'm like, this one's okay. And anyway, turned out it was Jeff May's old bike, which I didn't know. So we get out there and I'm like pulling up on the V4 and I'm like, dude, this is not stock. Like, this thing is a beast. I come back and they're like, oh yeah, it's got all this stuff done. It's Jeff's old bike. I'm like, oh, okay. It was fun.
It's the first time you ever had like traction control and all the fancy stuff.
Auto blip. And as I came in, I said, that's like playing a racing video game on automatic instead of manual, like with the lines on and everything. It was going down into turn 5 at Road America, from 180 and just ba 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 and just and it just backs itself in. I'm like, okay, like that's great.
Just hands it to you.
Yeah.
All right, moving into the business side, because we're here to learn about Bison and learn about why maybe I should go buy one of your suits.
There you go.
I don't actually mean the maybe. I probably will, but so I'm in South Carolina. Cole's out in Utah. He's obviously got one, and he never met you guys before, and he was working with another person to get measurements and make sure everything looks great and all of that. So can you walk us through kind of that process? What led you to that? How many of these other people do we have in the world? Those
I
things.
assume it was Rainy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Rainy's awesome. But you can talk through the process if you want.
No, you're the business side. I have all the fun motorcycle chat. You get the business.
He just tests the products.
Bingo.
So we have internally we have a team of 5 now. Is that the right number? 4 in part
5.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So internally we have a team of 5 right now. Go ahead.
6, Carter? Anyway.
Oh, 6.
Our 17-year-old Carter, he just started for us like last week. So we don't even really count him because he's always around. And anyway.
Right.
But he's officially working for us now. So
But for instance, like Rainy is one of our gear customization specialists. So she's the one that works on the design one-on-one with the customer once the order comes in. But she's also trackside a lot. So part of what she's been doing is, doing measurements while she's at the track or just talking to people about Bison. That's kind of just happened naturally. She's the only one that's really like that's internal plus also does that. We have some trackside partners that we utilize to do measurements at other events across the country. And we actually have a really big focus on that this year to help expand that network of partners. But yeah, so that's kind of, it's just people across the country that help us out. So honestly, the West Coast is where we're most covered. Pretty much every other part of the country, we're lacking coverage right now.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you want to be a trackside partner or an authorized measurement partner, send us an email. So info@bisontrack.com and we can walk you through that. So it's just a quick vetting process to get to know you and check out your social media and all that stuff. And then it's an easy way to like make an extra buck at the track, but we want to make sure that we align with the right people. So and
that's part of the reason it's taken us so long is, we know this has been a need for several years now, but just finding the right people that, like you said, like the values align, but it also fits them, it fits us. It's just been a lot more difficult than we anticipated. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and I'll email and also the link in case when you guys, the listeners, search Bison Leathers in case you're getting some random Bison hide shop. We'll have the links down in the description. So all of that'll be down there. Go click on it. Hit them up. Okay, so customization. Why is that so important? I know why it's so important to me. I know why it's so important for a lot of people I've talked to. But why, like, to me, the fact that your company exists, that you hit that price point that you were talking about, that kind of middle ground, but got a custom suit with not just custom sizing, but also custom graphics and all of that it's a milestone. It's huge for the industry in America. But why is it so huge from your point of view?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, like you said. I mean, obviously you got fashion and function, and we hit both of those buckets with this. And I think everybody that comes into this has their own reasoning for doing it, whether they can't find something off the rack, like they literally just don't fit in anything, or they're like, you know what? Exactly. We have a lot of bodybuilders, just, big people. And then like female body shapes. Yeah. Women and youth, they have such unique body shapes. Like the off rack stuff just doesn't accommodate a lot of people. So anyway, we get a lot of that, but of course there's a fashion element to it as well, of course. And people just want to look and feel cool. A lot of times, a lot of track day riders that just want something to match their bike, or street riders that want a jacket that's this specific cut, looks like this, has these features, and gloves to match the suit and all this stuff. So it's fashion or function. And the other element of that is, when your gear fits you properly, you're going to go faster and you're going to be safer. And I see a lot of people will come to us and say, look, I've had this suit for years. My buddy gave it to me as a hand-me-down. It's really, really comfortable. And I just want to make sure that my Bison suit is going to fit like this one. And I look at it and it's like, I'm like, it's hanging off of them like a garbage bag, and I'm like, that suit actually doesn't fit you properly. That's why it's comfortable,
Yeah.
And I'll be like, look, when you get your Bison suit, even if we select comfort fit, you're probably not going to be comfortable in it the first weekend, like you are in that suit, So just kind of educating people on how a suit or gloves should fit you. People come to us all the time with gloves that are, the fingers are, too dang long, and they're catching on their levers and they're bunching up under their palms and catching their throttle. And they'll say, yeah, these gloves, I really like them though. They're cool, but they have some stuff. And I'm like, dude, don't wear these gloves. Like, I've taken gloves from people and given them a pair of Bison gloves. Like, we'll have some demos, usually trackside. And I'll say, here, take these and wear these for a session and then come back and see me. And they come back, they're like, oh my gosh. Like, when I released the throttle actually went back. It didn't, get caught in my palm.
My bike's not broken. My gloves work.
Side note, while we're on gloves, I wanted to bring this up. So this is the gloves I got with my suit.
Thor point threes, yep.
I love the suit. But what is the story on these gloves? Because I am in absolute love with these gloves. I have tried a bunch of different gloves, some very, very high price gloves, and nothing ever quite worked for me. And these babies right here, I love them.
I'm so glad that you love those. I appreciate that. Yeah. So the story behind those gloves, that's our latest model. For those of you who don't know, our Bison logo is Thor. I have him on here. You got him on your kneecap behind you, but yeah. No, I don't. Thor is on the knee piece there, the little logo.
Hey, wait! Don't sell me short. There's not on the knee pad anymore.
No,
the knee cap.
The protector.
Oh, okay.
Not the puck. Calm down, Cole. We know you drag knee. It's okay.
Well, I've gotten some criticism in the past, so
I'm not criticizing you at all.
I see it.
Full screen it for the world to see. He does drag his knee. It happens.
You're not just scraping those on the asphalt before you get to the track, are you? To show
it's part of the braking process. Actually, you just go rub your knees back and forth.
Usually I'm so unfit that I collapse. After getting off the bike and have to have somebody drag me back to the trailer on my knees.
There you go. Now so our little logo, his name's Thor. Anyway, so that's why our lines are Thor 1, Thor 2, Thor 3, so on and so forth. So with the gloves, the Thor Point 1 was our first model. And we're actually working on a new version of that. You heard it here first. The Thor Point, Tasha's looking at me like, seriously, you said that? The Thor Point 2, the Thor 2 glove is our most expensive glove. And I tell people it's kind of our flagship. It is very unique. And that's the thing with each of these three gloves. They're all very different than the next. So they each have their pros, their cons, and all that sort of thing. So everybody says the Thor 2 would be in the most expensive by $100. It must be $100 better than the 1 and 3, right? And I'm like, no, it's just $100 different. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got their own flavor of glove, just like a helmet fits everybody. Shoei's going to fit people different than a KYT than a Bell. And boots too, some people I fit great in the CD boots. A lot of people don't, so we wanted to have a glove that is good for each person. So at the racetrack, when you come to our booth, and you look at these three gloves, there might be one that you like the look of, but when you try them on, you're going to know which one fits you. It's going to be like Cinderella. You're going to be like, that's the one, right? So the Thor 2 is our most feature-rich one. It's kind of our flagship, but it's kind of a bulky glove in terms of it has a high cuff, a crossover strap, active wrist impact system, which is hard to explain, but it does a lot of cool stuff with your wrists and allows really good articulation while at the same time protecting you. The Thor 3 was born because people would come to us, they'd see the Thor 1 and the Thor 2, and they're like, okay, these gloves are awesome, but there's too much to them. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they'd bring me a glove from brand A and brand R, we will call them, and they'd say, here's the gloves that I wear, this is what I like. And they'd hold up a glove that's basically a work glove. Like, I wouldn't wear it. It's thin. There's no padding on it. There's no protection. And I'm like, really? Well, you would rather wear these than our gloves, which are really awesome and protective. They're like, yeah, because they have really good feedback and feel and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard that for a couple of years. And finally, I said, look, we need to make a glove that has that because we're losing sales on this, but it's got to have that feel. But I also want it to be protective. So when you look at that Thor 3, if you hold it up again, you'll see that there's, like, for instance, on the fingers, there are 3 finger segments, layered over. Everybody says they look like dragon scales. It's a cool look. But the reason there's 3 segments, whereas most gloves on the market have 2 segments, is we just try to get as much leather on the top of the fingers as we could. And the reason that glove feels different than the Thor 1 and 2, all 3 models are kangaroo, top, bottom, palm, everything. Most gloves on the market are kangaroo palms. Ours are full kangaroo. But these Thor 3s are thinner all around, a thinner hide than the ones in the 2s. Okay. So what you have right out of the box is just like, you put them on, and I'm sure you experienced no break-in, right? You're just like, dang. Right. And then after a weekend, they're like a second skin. And the Thor 1s and 2s will get there, but it takes a little bit more time. They still feel good out of the box, but not like the 3s. So the 3s still crash great. My crash at Hallett, I think, was my 3rd on my pair of Thor 3s. They're still great. But so I don't want the thinner hide to deter people, but at the same time, repeated crashes, just like anything else. You tan it thinner, it's going to have less slide time before you're going to need a repair or a replacement. So,
yeah, 100%.
What's this part in the palm called?
Yeah, so like a palm slider, palm puck,
So that was, when I received these gloves, that was my one concern. When they were fresh out of the box, I put them on, and then when you went to grab the grip, it almost like locked in behind the grip.
All right in. Yeah.
And I didn't know if I would like that or not, honestly. But first lap in, they were great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And that's common. So the Thor 2s do not have the pucks on the palm. We have 2 big Stingray pads, so Stingray fish skin. In lieu of those, the Thor 2 have the fish skin, but the Thor 1s and the Thor 3s have the pucks. So there's a trade-off to everything you do, whether it's a suit, a glove, a boot, whatever. The pucks, the trade-off would be, yes, they're going to slide repeatedly. I slid on my palms at Hallett, and you can't even tell because I was on the pucks. But if I had the Stingray on the Thor 2s, I would have probably burned through the stitching around the Stingray and had to get them restitched there. The trade-off is, when I came down on my palm after that high side, I had a bruise right behind the puck. So they're padded behind there, but there's an impact point there. If I had the Stingray on the Thor 2s and I came down, I would have had a little bit more cushion there instead of the puck. So the pucks are great for repeated slides, but it can be an impact point. So, but people say it all the time. They're like, man, I feel like these are going to, when they try them on at the booth, they're like, I don't know about the pucks. And I'll say, get on my Grom and go ride it around. And they come back, they're like, dude, I didn't even realize they were there. Yeah. So they fit right behind the bar. But yes, that's a common, concern that's usually remedied once they're on the bike.
Good to know. Interesting about the pucks. I guess besides his gloves, which I've seen. Sorry, I had to gather my thoughts. Besides his gloves, which I have seen, but I don't see pucks on the palms too often. And then bringing up that pressure point that you were talking about and having a bruise behind it. I mean, it makes sense, and I don't have an issue with that or anything. But it's just some good food for thought, I guess. Interesting thoughts.
Yeah. One more I want to bring up while we're on the gloves.
Go ahead.
So I switched to these from Alpine Stars.
Okay.
That was the latest glove I've been using. You have the finger stitched together. That's a source of argumentation all the time in the paddock.
Yeah.
Is whether that you want to break one finger or both fingers.
Right.
What say you? What's your reason for doing it? I like it.
So to me, it does a couple things. One is, if you try to pull your pinky back by itself, you can pull it as far as you want. But if you try to pull these 2 fingers together, it's exponentially harder. The odds of you breaking both these fingers because they're tied together is a lot slimmer than losing your pinky altogether with it being out there by itself. On top of that, the reason I like the bridge together is it's more surface area should you get caught under the bar or get pinched between the lever and a low side. It's just more surface area. That pinky hanging out there by itself, it's the lone little piggy, right? So
Right.
as long as you have that ring finger there, let's say your lever gets, you're between the brake lever, you go down on the low side on your right side, you're going to want both of those in there. You're going to want that there. And it's just for abrasion resistance, having those two together, should you be under the bar, is helpful. That being said, trying to offer everybody, again, the glove that they like, the pinky being tied together is something that a lot of people can't stand. When I first started riding on the track and I got my first pair of Alpine Stars gloves and the pinkies were, I'm like, I hate this. I actually used 3 fingers on the street. I always used 3. So it took me a couple sessions, about a half day, to realize, okay, I can do this with 2 and it's fine. And I didn't think about it after that. But at first it messed with me. I almost cut them in half. I almost cut the bridge to loosen them up. So anyway, our Thor 3 gloves that we have in stock don't have a pinky bridge, but your custom ones do have a pinky bridge. So we did that by design. We wanted to give people that option where it's like, okay, we have a glove in stock that doesn't have the pinky bridge. If that's a deal breaker for you, the Thor 3 is the one, right? But when you buy a pair of custom Bison gloves, no matter the model, you can get them with or without the pinky bridge.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a custom. I love custom. It's so
Bingo.
customizable. Before we deter into custom a little bit, you've mentioned a lot, actually, like things getting restitched, getting repairs done, doing stuff like that. We've talked to a repair guy here on the podcast, but do you guys have in-house repair? Can I ship my stuff back to you? Do I have to travel to Texas? Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah. I watched that cast the other day with Anthony's, is it Greg?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So Greg mentioned in that podcast that there's a guy at the Moto America events at the booth that kind of took some work from him, and I'm like, I heard that and I was like, oh man, because like that was kind of our fault.
So remember when we were talking about Rob was falling asleep at the sewing machine?
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after that, we realized that was not a sustainable thing that we should be doing.
I got too much stuff to do besides sewing.
And he couldn't tell anyone no. Like, so what was happening is literally that weekend, what happened is everyone was crashing. Everyone was bringing their stuff up. And so he had racks of stuff. And it was... I hid from people. I know. We were
way
up
up on
like
the top of the hill.
The top RV parking, not even in the paddock, and people found us. But they're like, we heard you had a sewing machine. But they were bringing us other brands, and which was fine, whatever. We were trying to like help everyone, but he can't say no. So not too long after that, I think that same season, we went to Indianapolis, and right before that, we had a guy reach out to us that said, hey, I might be interested in getting into this motorcycle leather repair thing. Do you know, what do you think? And Rob was like, yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah.
So he met us at Indy, and we talked with him for, several hours, and just kind of.
I gave him some suits to take home.
Yeah.
So it's Grover and Kim from Sage Tailoring, and they're 2 kids, and it was like, okay, super nice people. They're just salt of the earth people, and I got the sense that they were willing to hustle. So I gave them some suits to repair, take home. One was a buddy of mine's suit. It was an easy repair. And I said, listen, if you fix these up, send them back to me. I'll kind of vet you, and then I'll give you some feedback. They sent them back, and they were perfect. Like, couldn't even tell they were repaired. The stitching was all like factory. And I said, okay, great. So I said, if you guys want to come to Daytona, because they live in Ohio, I said, if you want to come to Daytona in October, I promise it'll be worth your while. And they're like, really? Thinks that's such a long trip? I said, just trust me. I think it's going to be worth your while. And they didn't stop going all week. Like, they barely slept. Didn't stop going all weekend. And then the next year they started coming to Moto America, and they just right off the bat, I mean, it just took off. And so we kind of partner up with them. We butt our canopies up typically right next to each other and help each other out. So Kim, that does, the seamstress work, she is deaf. So Grover's the communicator. She's just over there stitching away. And dude, they are the hardest working people that I know. Legit. I think at Daytona at round 1 for the 200 a couple weeks ago, they were up until 5 a.m. one night because one of the teams couldn't wear their gear, couldn't wear their pit shirts and everything because of a logo dispute. So they made them all new pit shirts. They sewed on patches on all these suits. They made the patches in their RV. They have a patch printer and a laser cutter and all this. They did all this stuff and then had the suits back to them. They didn't sleep all night. So that's the kind of stuff. But that's our main repair and alterations partner, Sage Tailoring. But we do have partnerships with some other entities. So one in Texas, and there's a couple here and there that we recommend. But it's another one of those things where it's like you put your name on something. You send somebody to, and this has burned us before, where we're like, oh yeah, go see such and such at this city. And then the person writes us an email a couple weeks later, like, I can't believe, look what they did to my suit.
Right.
This is what they, and I'm like, like that, we put our name on that. Right. So for that reason, Grover and Kim are the ones we use the most. There's some great ones out there. And Anthony's, I don't have a lot of personal experience with, but I've heard great things about Anthony's. And there's some others, Dan at Sport Bike Leather Service in Michigan, Joel at Catwalk Leather in Texas. We use her. There's Ratano's Leathers, Chris Ratana. We've used him in the past. So we've got a lot out there. We've been trying to find some in Canada, which is a whole other story. So if you all know of anybody in Canada that does a good job repairing leathers that would like to work with us, have them reach out to us. But we're always looking for repair and alterations partners. It's just like the trackside partner. It's very important to us that we vet the person, see the work, and then make sure it's a good culture fit.
Yeah, 100%. And I can say that as a track day junkie myself, and Cole, I believe, we appreciate that a lot. Because it's good business. You're running a business, and there's the business side of it. You want to keep making money, keep building the business. All those things exist, but also generally, I think in the sport, which is why we've come to love it so much, everyone cares.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
You like to see that you guys truly do care about your people, and you're not just going to send them to, hey, head over to this guy. He might do a good job. Who knows? That's awesome. So we appreciate that 100%.
Definitely.
Okay. I wanted to, Cole, you look like you had a question.
Are we bleeding into the customization side now?
Yeah, I think so.
He's like,
Can I, I'll tell you my personal suit story.
Please do. Yeah.
yes.
So I can only give like a very high percentage of the credit to Rainey. I love Rainey.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rainey. Honestly, the only reason I got a custom suit is because somebody made it convenient for me. I'm that guy, man. I walk in the store and I see one on the shelf and I'm like, I think I can make this fit. And then I go hate it for a month. And then the next time I'm somewhere, I go, maybe this one will fit better. So I've been through a lot of suits and always said I need a custom suit. And I've known Rainey for a while now. And I know she was always talking about the suits and man, maybe you guys are just killing it in the West. Maybe you're killing it everywhere, but there's a high percentage of Bison suits anymore. I remember 3 years ago, it was not too common. Every once in a while you see a Bison suit. And now there's, you know how the paddock works. There's one guy in the group gets them and then all his friends get them. And
yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of the times, I'm out of Utah, as Easton mentioned, at the USBA, there's got to be 20%, 25% of the suits that are out there anymore are Bison.
Awesome.
But
yeah, I came from Washington a few years ago, and there were plenty up there. And my first track day down here, I guess my second, but I was at the Atlanta Motorsports Park, and guy pitted right next to me in some Bison leathers, and he saw me wearing the suit I did. He's like, "Hey man, you gonna be okay in that?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I just, I've seen him blow up, and I just want to make sure you're gonna be safe." And I did actually wreck that day, and I was fine. But he was
good that you were fine, not good that you wrecked.
Yeah. But I came back, and he was like, "Oh man, I'm so glad to see you're okay." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, I thought that suit was going to rupture." And anyway, but he was wearing Bison leathers, and I talked to him for a little bit about it, and he's like, "No, it's so awesome." And he had some, not my own personal taste, but some blue camo digital stuff going on. And I was just like, that's kind of nuts. Cause when I think custom also, I'm used to like still within the brand's idea.
Yeah.
Right? And to see like Cole's, I feel like isn't too far off from something you would expect a brand to do, right?
Mhm.
But then to see just this like kind of whacked out, no offense or anything to anyone, but whacked out freaking blue camo all over, white lightning bolts, who knows what else was on there. I was like, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
anyway.
we say wild to mild.
Yeah. You do it all.
We do have templates to start with because people do get overwhelmed by the process. Like Cole, to your point, like if Rainey wouldn't have made that easy for you, you know, you probably would have just got another off the rack suit. But everyone, you know, everyone's different. Some people literally will print off our little template and color it with their crayons and like have it exactly how they want it and then email it over. And then our team has to, you know, put it in digital form. But, and then there's some people that are just like, I just want black and white. And we actually have to kind of pull it out of them sometimes because, you know, our whole mantra is what's your Bisonality? It's like, how can we make your personality show through your gear? And so, you know, one of the questions when you first fill out your profile is like, tell us some interesting facts about you, you know, and we're trying to pull something out of you that we can maybe incorporate into the gear somehow.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Yeah. And sorry, I was just going to say that what tripped me out when we started this, one of the most surprising things once we got on the road and we got in front of a lot of people was, you know, when we started this company, I was like, oh, the measurements are going to be the hardest thing because I personally, my first 2 custom suits had fitment issues here and there, and I rode through them, but it wasn't great. And that always drove me nuts, and it was intimidating, and I hated taking the measurements. Well, come to find out, I would talk to people and be like, so how come you haven't got a Bison suit yet? Because I'll measure you right now, and we'll get that out of the way. And they're like, no, it's not the measurements. I'm scared I'm going to end up with an ugly suit. Or like, I'm not artistic at all. I don't know how to design a suit. Or they're just intimidated by the design process. For me, that was the fun part. Yeah. But not everybody's like that. And so we figured out really quick that we had to make the design process easy, like lower the walls. We'll help you as much or as little as you want. And then, you know, just make it fun. And so that's what we've tried to do.
Cool. So if I'm looking serious, and I do care about style quite a bit. I'm also probably one of the guys that would just be like, yeah, just black and white, because for some reason I'm like, yeah, I care about how I look, but I also just want to look very plain, you know.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's fair.
But if I had some crazy ideas, but I have no idea how to get them on paper, are you guys like? I know he worked with Rainey, met Rainey at the track. You guys are always at racetracks, and so there's that side of it. But for someone that is currently in Montana, because there's no racetracks up there, we'll throw that one out.
Boo.
Yeah, get yourselves a racetrack. Do you guys have like a phone line that you're willing to talk to people, or is that too far, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you can
we got all kinds
call,
of ways to
email, don't Facebook us. Things get lost. So many people Facebook us still, and I'm
like personally, us personally.
Yeah.
You can Facebook message the business.
But the business, fine.
For sure.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, no, people will message me or her personally and ask us questions, which is great. We want to be accessible, but then my Facebook Messenger is a black hole. Like I will have friends be like, dude, I messaged you on Facebook 3 months ago. You didn't respond to me. I'm like, oh, because I literally didn't see it. Here it is. You know, I went past anyway. But no, we have a phone line. So 405-252-0484. It's on our website. You can call that line. You'll get me or Tosha or Rainey or Morgan or, you know, one of the it rings to all of us. Yeah. Or you can even text it, which is the cool thing. So you can text just team wide and ask a question. Be like, hey guys, how does this design process work? And somebody will answer you quick. Or if you have a specific, like, hey, Rob, I talked to you at Hallett about X, Y, and Z. I'll see that and say, oh, I got this, and I'll respond. So that main number goes to everybody in the team, which is really cool. So,
yeah, we also have a chat feature on our website, so you can chat with the team there, email, anything, pretty much.
We are readily accessible. And that's one thing in business. You never want to hang your hat on customer service. Like, it should be a given. But honestly, like I came from the automotive industry. It was 20 years in the auto industry. My last job, I was the service director, you know, car dealerships. And I was so big on customer service. Like, that was my thing. I'm like, I would hire somebody that was good at talking to people 9 times out of 10 over somebody that would sell something, you know, as a salesman. Because I'm like, good customer service. Sales are a byproduct of good customer service, long-term sales. And that's what we try to hang our hat on at Bison. And you can't make everybody happy, but damn, we sure try. We'll put it that way.
That's fair.
Well, Easton, I sent you a picture earlier. Why don't you get ready to cue that up?
Oh, yeah.
I want to,
Uh-oh.
yeah, get her done. Get her done. So earlier I said Rainey's only 99.8% responsible. The other percentage was Anthony Lugnut Norton, who like,
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Shout out Anthony.
So he was egging me on, saying, Rainey does those. You gotta if you want one, just have Rainey do it. But my understanding is I got permission from him to bring it up here, but I have a picture of the design that you guys are now working on for Anthony.
Okay.
I think I was his guinea pig. That's what I think. So he asked me, how was it? I said, great. How's the gloves? I said, wonderful. And now he's got a new one for his Moto America season for this year coming from you guys.
We're excited about that. We like Anthony a lot. Yeah. So
we were just talking to Rainey about that a couple weeks ago. I was like, when are we going to get that suit going?
Where's Anthony coming on?
Sorry, did you want me to bring that up, Cole?
Yes, sir. Bring it up. I think we can talk about it while it's up. And maybe you can talk about the design process and how that
goes start to finish type, or like what does it look like, right?
Yep. Yeah. All right. Can everyone see that? I can zoom in a little bit if we need.
Yeah, zoom on in.
Control plus.
Yeah.
Control plus it again.
Speaking of subtle but elegant. Elegant's not the right word. Classic. That's a better word.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's a good race layout. The logos are doing most of the talking. It's the way I look at it.
Trick question, not trick question. I guess quiz, pop quiz. That's what I was trying to go with. What template is that?
That is Crazy Jack, I believe, with some edits. I could be wrong. We have so many templates, I lose track.
All right. I thought you were asking me for a second. I was like,
sorry, I was asking him.
I don't know. You're good. There's the back. He's got his name down on the bottom. I like that because it's like the all the MotoGP guys, but it's also just Lugnut instead of his last name.
So
it's also got Anthony in there. I know what that means over there, but I know Easton doesn't because he was only born 2 days ago. So
yay, okay.
And if you look like on the arms and the thighs, those patches that are kind of sticking out on the flat image there, those are Stingray's patches.
Okay, so that's just extra wear.
Well, they're really to protect the seams. So instead of a seam busting and possibly ripping the leather, it just really protects the seam there. So Rob says those are sacrificial lambs. Is that the term?
I guess, if you want to sacrifice lambs.
I don't know, whatever you're sacrificing. They're sacrificial stingray.
Can you flip back to my screen quick, Easton?
Yeah.
Just they're right here. These are the ones on the. Sorry. Oh man, it's too dark.
So this stuff's like a hockey puck when it hits the asphalt. It's indestructible, and it slides a little bit. So the first things to hit the track are generally your hips, your forearms, and we put that Stingray right over the main seams and in those areas. So instead of catching right on those seams, wearing through that stitching, even though they're triple stitch seams, they're not coming apart, but wearing through that first layer of stitching and torquing the suit, that leather grabbing and starting to torque you. You've got the Stingray taking the brunt of the impact. You're sliding, and you can kind of get your bearings instead of torquing and twisting your arm and that sort of thing. So it's just a little thing that makes a difference.
So that's why that guy was so worried about me blowing my suit up, is because I didn't have the sacrificial lambs on my suit.
Sacrificial fish.
Flip back to Anthony's suit, Easton.
Oh, I just okay. Sorry.
What are you doing? He's usually better at this.
Hey, I'm doing pretty good.
He's hosting and directing on the fly, so he's doing a good job, I think.
See,
Love it.
All right, we're back in the suit.
Yeah, I like it. I just, Can you guys like accidentally make the logo on the chest, the top one?
Accidentally make like an extra one?
Just accidentally make it like huge without him knowing, and then just tell him sorry.
We made that edit. Yeah, did you not watch the JKMoto podcast? We made the edit real time.
He said he could speak for you.
Yeah, you should have been on the podcast, bro. I mean, I don't know. Should have
Yeah, could have defended yourself, but
exactly.
Yeah,
I love it.
I may or may not have some personal connection with that there company. So
Nice.
Oh, I got you.
Love
Okay,
it.
that makes sense.
I kind of figured that.
I thought you were wanting me to add a new logo, like put a big eggplant emoji or something. I don't know.
he doesn't need any more of that.
no, yeah, he carries plenty of that on his own. But
Wasn't there someone that you did like a joke logo one time?
Well, it was the Burlesons. So
Oh,
yeah, Corey Burleson, the dad, Isaiah designed his logo,
that's right.
and we made it. It was kind of funny, and
He basically said, "Hey, yeah, my kid can design my suit," and so they had some fun with that.
yeah, Isaiah designed kind of a goofy logo. I don't think it made the final cut though. I think Corey was
I
like,
think he caught
no.
it on
He
the
caught it in the
final
final
draft.
draft. We didn't think he'd even look at it. Like he would just be like, "Yeah, just send it. I just want to see it when it comes out." I sent the final draft over, and he goes, "Hold up, what is that?" And I'm like, "I designed it," and he's like, "Absolutely not."
I said my kid could, but that's funny.
So is
That's
that
good.
that's a good question. Is that what's the craziest suit you've seen? Is that it, or you got any?
Oh. So one of the cool things about our design process is we don't charge any extra for like camos and printed patterns and stuff. We have some. We always try to warn people about printed patterns because they wear differently, more accelerated, and they can kind of be a pain. So we say put them in areas that aren't going to touch the bike or rub or whatever.
Right.
But if somebody wanted to print their entire suit, I mean, we do a lot of entirely printed suits, and so we've done some crazy ones. We have a video on YouTube that's Bison suits mild to wild, and I kind of show off a few. It's an old video, but the crazy suit on there is printed top to bottom, and it looks like an old like 90s trapper keeper. Like it's like purple fading to pink with all these triangles and circles and squiggles and stuff all over it. It's got like a palm tree with a sun, and
Is that more
it's pretty
than
wild.
the Nyan Cat?
We had the Nyan Cat, like a teal with the rainbow, and the toaster cat, like the Pop-Tart cat.
Oh my
Like
goodness!
his whole legs were rainbow.
You
You
didn't
can actually
almost
put
that
an
one.
entire meme on your suit at Bison Leathers. Get yours today.
Well, it was Josh Harden's suit. He's a Texas racer, and he is kind of a walking meme, so it made sense.
But our daughter
That's,
didn't want to let that one go. She hid in it one day, and
She was like, "Oh my gosh, this suit's
that was
amazing."
during COVID, I remember, because Anyways, but
and then we did one recently that looks like overalls on the front with like a flannel shirt, overalls, and then he turns around and the back it's like assless. So he has like these pointed butt cheeks, and a G-string, like a red thong in his butt cheeks, and so when he's hanging off the bike going through a corner, it's hilarious. We almost didn't do that one, but I'm like, let's just have fun. Let's go.
go for it.
Hey man, if you can, I mean that shows some pretty good talent there.
That's great, man. But I don't ever want to pass by that guy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It makes you want to get
more
back
embarrassing.
in front of him, right?
Yeah. I've seen more than one suit out there, not Bisons, that are got a derogatory term instead of their name on the butt.
Yeah.
And
We would probably draw the line somewhere, but I can't think of a time we've ever done that, actually.
I think we have, but I can't remember offhand what it was.
I don't remember.
I did get in trouble with Brian Van from STG. We did a suit. Are you guys on TDJU at all?
no.
Track Day Junkies Unleashed. Okay, don't go on there.
Okay.
Don't do it.
What's that on?
It's bad. It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook page. So you have Track Day Junkies on Facebook, but then there's this TDJU page.
Are you supposed to talk about it?
No, I think it's Fight Club. Actually, I think I'm breaking rule number 1 by even talking about it.
We shouldn't talk about it.
But there's this like running joke on TDJU about Brian Van and
Yeah. Hey, watch the explicit thing.
like male organs, and so Brian was kind of rolling with it. I think at first he was kind of like, what is this? And then he rolled with it. And that's how you get away with stuff on TDJU. If you throw a fit about it, then like Josh Heron went in there and rage quit after 2 days because people were giving him a hard time, and then people just still pile on Josh Heron. If he would have just stayed and been like, no, it's cool, and just rolled with it, he would have been fine. And that's what Brian did. So Brian and Max Van went in there, and they are like the TDJU lords because they took all the criticism. They're like, yeah, you know what? It's fine. We'll own it, and we're going to give it back to you guys. So then it's turned into this whole, people were mailing him toys like to the STG headquarters and stuff. And so anyway, we had a suit design contest this one year, and we said, everybody just send us, you can draw it with crayons, you can use Adobe Illustrator, whatever, send in your suit designs however they are, and we're going to pick the best ones. We'll put them up, and then everybody can vote on them. So somebody sent us in a design that was themed. It was Brian Van's theme suit, and it had all kinds of stuff on it. It had like eggplants and things, and it said, I love this and that. And we were looking at it in our team meeting with all our Bison people, and I'm like, I love this. This is going to be hilarious. And Tasha's like, I think not.
I think this is
I was like,
bad
no,
idea.
I think Brian's cool with it. Like, I think he'll get a kick out of it.
I'm like, okay.
So we went ahead with it, and it didn't go well.
Didn't get
Brian's
a kick out of it. Huh?
Like, bro, seriously? Like a little bit of professional courtesy. I'm like, dude, I thought you were owning it. It was fine. So I had to buy him some high noons after that. I owed him some drinks. We laughed about it later. I was like, dude, I'll take it down right now. And he's like, nah, it's too late. Just leave it, whatever. And it ended up being okay. But at first, it was like I stepped on a landmine. It was uncool. I should have asked him first.
You should have just listened to your wife.
I should.
Could have done that.
Yeah. That usually works.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Usually he's fine. Like, usually, even when I'm like, I'm not sure, and then he does it and it's okay. But that one did not go so well.
Yeah, it was very personal. That was in hindsight not great. But I said it was all out of love, dude. I said if I didn't love you and respect you, I wouldn't have posted it. Like, I thought it was fun and it would bring some attention to you and STG and everything. And
in hindsight, it probably did.
I did.
To a degree.
I think that's why you had me leave it up. But anyway,
it's like no such thing as bad publicity, right? So
that's what I always say. But.
Exactly.
Some publicity, though, you're still kind of Anyway, okay. Continuing down the customization, we got a little off track there, but
yeah, we did. Sorry.
About the sizing. Which I know you said it's actually not most people's problems. Most people are like, well, I can pull out a tape measure, I just can't draw. And I understand that. How cumbersome would you say? And we've talked about this before. I think we might have done more suit podcasts than any other like themed podcast. But I mean, suits are pretty important. Yeah, we did, like way back in the day, we were looking at custom because we made the mistake of buying very expensive non-custom suits, and as Cole mentioned, it's so hard for him to find one that fits, and I got really lucky in my time, but why not just go custom right off the bat? And a lot of people think that comes with a $5,000 price tag, which is why we brought you guys on here to kind of discuss how that's not a thing. But how cumbersome would you say the process actually is for measurements?
Well, there are very few people out there that are familiar with taking measurements, obviously, and it's actually a good thing, because if you go to let's say a lot of people, when we first started this, would say, I'm going to Men's Warehouse to get my measurements taken. I'd be like, okay, cool. That's great. They know how to take measurements. Turns out measuring for a tux is way different than measuring for a race suit. So they would look at the form and they'd say, okay, neck measurement, right? When we take a neck measurement, we kind of take it around where my collar is, because you don't want your collar like this. We want it. You're going to be looking through a corner. You're going to be down in a tuck, right? You want to open. So I measure down around the base of the neck. Well, at Men's Warehouse, they're like, right, because they want you in a dress shirt. When they're measuring the arms, they measure to a different point. The inseam is different. And so you end up with this suit that fits like a tuxedo, and that's not good for the racetrack. The nice thing about coming in with no knowledge of measurements is that we can teach you how to do it right off the bat, and the way we do that is we have a YouTube video that's very thorough. Okay. Most of our measurements are not taken in person. And so people will order online, and then they schedule what's called a virtual measurement session. So we would get on a video call with you. Before that video call, we ask you to watch the YouTube video with your measurement partner. So if it's your wife, your mom, your bud, whatever, just watch the YouTube video with the form open so you can look at the numbers, look at the chart, and say, okay, I see how Rob's doing it in the video. Got it. Or you might say, oh, I still don't understand that measurement. Let me just put an asterisk there and I'll ask the question in the call, whatever. But when we get in the measurement call, then we know you're prepared because you watch the video, you have the right tape measure, you've got the right lighting, you're wearing the right stuff for the measurements, and you're prepared yourself by looking at the form. If you jump through those hoops, which are very simple, and you let us just monitor you on the virtual measurement session, we'll still guarantee the fitment 100%. So if you get your suit doesn't fit right, and this happens all the time as well, I say all the time, happens every now and then, where they say, man, the suit just doesn't fit right, and we'll recheck. Okay, let's get on a call, just recheck a few measurements. We'll check it. Whoa, that's like 7 centimeters different. That's what happened. And the wife will be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know, it's okay. You're bad, but we were on the video call. You did the things we asked you to. We'll still fix it. And so that's something that is unique to us. And frankly, we've spent a ton of money, even in times that we probably shouldn't have, where we've said, okay, we're still going to take care of this because the circle's tight. And there are too many people, I hear it all the time. People are like, dude, I spent $2,000 on this custom suit and it's hanging in my garage because I literally can't wear it. I'm never going to do a custom suit again. And I'm like, please just give me a chance. Like if this one doesn't fit you, we'll make it right. And they're like, okay, but this didn't go right the last time, because it's some company overseas, or, they didn't read the policy, which says they're not responsible for your measurements or whatever. So,
or they went to Men's Warehouse and
really
got some bad measurements.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's interesting because, I hate to say it, but I feel like people expect that they're screwed, like when they get a suit and it doesn't fit. And they're like, we've actually had people that won't let us fix it for them, which it just baffles me. They're like, no, it's, it doesn't work. It's not going to work next time,
It's never going to happen.
And we're like, okay. Literally, we're just recheck these measurements. It's going to work, like we're going to make it right. And it's like, they don't believe us. And I don't
it's
know.
kind of
We've
odd,
had a few of those.
And I make mistakes too. Like I've measured thousands of people literally, and I make mistakes, and it's just one of those things. There's so many variables, and I'm just going to say this. There's so many variables in this industry between taking the measurements, recording the measurements. You can miskey something, sending the measurements to a factory then overseas, and they are cutting everything. There's some laser cutting involved, but generally they're inputting measurements. They're cutting these pieces of leather and then stitching them all together to make sure that trying to get those 32 dimensions all to zero out and make a perfect suit. And there's a lot of room for error in all that, as you can imagine. So be it color or fit, 1 out of 10 custom items has some little, issue with it. And most of the time we can fix it with like, okay, we got to apply a different patch or add a color or lengthen an arm or whatever. But sometimes it's a remake situation. And so we just try to cover people, protect our customers as much as we can. And all we can do in that case is like apologize and expedite that process. Our goal when there's an issue is to resolve it within 30 days. Like you have your thing back within 30 days, either remade or altered, fixed, and it's good to go. So that's our always goal, under 30 days.
Awesome. I mean, so that actually brings me to my next question, which is, if I get a buddy who actually just did his first track day out here yesterday and I'm going to get him to go buy Bison leathers, what does that time frame look like?
Yeah, so from the time that we have your design and your measurements ready to go, it's about 60 days, right? Yeah. So, and we always say that because we have people that will do their design and get their measurements to us within 2 days. And then we literally just put an order into production that we got in 2019 the other day, which just baffles me. I'm like, you gave us $1,000 and okay. But
we were like chasing this guy down literally at track days. Like, dude, let's go. Like
It's like, I'll get it to
It's
you.
like, no, it's not a big deal. It's
Yeah.
a big deal for us.
So depending on how long that part of the process takes,
Yeah.
it's about 60 days from then. Under 60
So
days.
yeah, so from final draft, like I got everything that you guys need from me is to you. 60 days from that point is there. Okay.
Exactly.
Because I definitely understand. Like I'm like, yeah, I want blue and white and red and yellow, and I don't know where I want them. Can you guys just draw me something? And then that comes back, and I'm like, yeah, but I didn't actually want yellow. I wanted orange. And anyway, whatever it might be. I don't know what scenarios you guys run into. I'm sure it's, as we've kind of talked about already, it's literally all sorts of scenarios. But
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So from
one of the things, you can go back and forth on email, but sometimes, especially if it's like an intricate design or there's a lot of sponsor patches or whatever, we'll get on a video call like this, and Rainey or Morgan will share their screen with you, and to say, just like the measurement call, say, okay, here's my screen. Now let's move some stuff around. Say, put that yellow in there here. Oh, okay, you know what? Take the yellow out completely. Put my name here. Check this font. And in 15 minutes, we can do what would take 3 days sometimes an email back and forth. So we track a lot of metrics on our end, one of which is average days in design process, average days in production process, and then the average days to actually get to the customer. We track those 3 metrics. So if you tell us, yeah, I want this design, but I got to think about it, and you wait a week, your gear customization specialist is freaking out because that's taking her time up. Her metric is going up. We're going to get on the Monday meeting and say, hey, how come your average days in design process went up a day? Oh man,
it's not
one
that
customer.
Dramatic. That's kind of dramatic.
But it's like it affects them. So,
yeah, KPIs,
yeah, KPI, bingo. Key performance indicators, yeah.
And we, like I said, we have people that do 2 days and people that are 90 days or more. So it's a balance, we just try to keep those 90 days or more to a minimum.
Yeah. So, we don't hound you. It's not like, come on, but we want to make sure you're not waiting on us ever. We'll put it that way.
Right. Yep. I mean, I understand that. It's kind of crazy to think about, like you mentioned, that you get paid to do a job and then you're just waiting to do the job because the person that paid hasn't done anything yet. But,
I mean,
whatever.
Can you imagine dropping $1,500 and then just being like,
No, I'm going to email you every day until I get it. That's the way I am. I'm calling like, hey, do we have any more info yet? I haven't heard from you in 10 minutes.
Definitely the other end of the spectrum.
Are you an engineer?
No, I am not. I might have a brain on that side of things, but I'm not an engineer.
Yeah. We always know where engineers are.
So my suit here, for example, I got it the beginning of last race season. I need a backup, or I need another one coming. Do you guys keep track of the designs? Can I just call you up and say do the same measurements and everything?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely we recently put something into place about not using measurements that are, the policy says 12 months or older, but it's really just like, for the most part, as long as you're not 2 years out, 3 years out, because we had people we'd measure at an event and then they'd wait, like I said, 2 or 3 years, and they'd be like, can you pull up my measurements? And then you see them in person and you're like, I don't really even recognize you because you don't look the same. But how do you say that to somebody, right? And be like, should we check your torso measurement?
What do you mean? Everyone's always losing weight. It's great, everyone.
You've been working out, haven't you?
Yeah, they got huge in the gym,
Yeah. That happens too, though.
Yeah, it does.
Like you said earlier, we have bodybuilders. They have like an on-season and off-season suit because they're just completely different.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's funny. I don't, I wouldn't have ever imagined that being a thing, but all right.
Me neither. I can't fathom it. I've been the same since high school, except for my belly.
But to answer your question, yes, we can very much do that. And we typically try to put you with the same gear customization specialist. So we're not like starting from scratch on that either, unless you, for some reason, say, I don't like Rainey. Like, give me somebody else.
Yeah, I've had my problems.
Never had that happen.
Literally never
She's
heard
a
that
rock
about
star.
her.
Yeah, we've got a great team all around, really. Just can't say enough about them.
Because they're all women.
Ryan and Carter are not.
They're new. We'll see.
It's just that we've always hired women, and it's not been something that we try. We have hired a couple guys. I was like demanding it. I'm like, this needs to be some testosterone up in this because I am like getting buried. We hired 3 guys. None of them worked out.
They
like,
were.
Actually, no. Charlie was great.
Charlie was great.
Charlie was awesome. Charlie Mabry, but
It was just around the same time that we hired these 2 other guys, and it was just like, hey, can one of these guys?
I'm like, poor Charlie almost didn't get a shot because like the other 2 were so bad. I'm like, I don't know. And Charlie came in, he did great, and he still works with us, but he had to quit because some personal reasons, and so we still keep ties with him. But
he's actually a partner in Arizona now, so if you need measurements, I can send you to him.
Bingo. But yeah, women do great. We got a great team.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Okay. Real quick, I'm looking at 2 of your suits. One is vegan, and I want to talk about that, but I'm not sure yet. But before we get there, both of the vegan and the Thor 2 say air vest compatible and air hide. Which, if you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you know what an air vest is yet, or at this point in your life. If you don't, because you're brand new to the track or whatever, we're not going to get into that too much. But are those air vests provided? Like, do you guys sell those, or is that a different brand air vest will fit in here, or what's the deal with the air vest for your suit?
Yeah. So again, just kind of identifying a need in the industry. As a racer, it was like when we released our air hide suit, we were looking at partnering with several different air vest companies, and each one of them wanted us to kind of be proprietary. And I said, well, you got to have these things in the suit. You got to jump through these hoops to work with the vest and all this stuff. So okay, and we just couldn't hammer down this right when COVID hit, and we were getting ready to like fly to Italy and do the Tech Air, partnership and everything. And they're like, hold up, can't come out, and put the brakes on everything. So I said, you know what? Let's just make a suit that takes almost any air vest. Like, we'll put all the stuff in there, and then you can just literally put whatever vest you want in there. So that's what air hide is. Air hide is not a proprietary system, has all the attachment points for the Tech Air race, has the zippers and the Velcro in there, the Helite integrated electronic air vest. You can even put a Helite tether vest or a Hit Air tether vest in there, which we don't recommend, but we can do it. So you have all these different attachment points in there. The one thing that's not included if you do a Tech Air race, you have to buy the LED lights. That we have the rubber tab with the holes and the Velcro behind it where you can put the LEDs in there, but we don't supply the LEDs. That's a whole other story. But you got to get your hands on those. Other than that, it'll go in there. So that's what air hide is. But the vest that we have our official partnership is with Helite. They have an integrated electronic air vest that came out last year, and they'd been trying to get it out since COVID. Had supplier issues. It was tough. It was a tough launch, but we slowly rolled them out last year, and they are excellent. So it's it's a thin, lightweight bladder that goes behind the liner of the suit. It attaches to the leather, and the cartridge, the ECU, all that stuff are inside the speed hump. So it's really low profile on your body. The inflation channels go up and around the neck, really protect the collarbone, but they stabilize your neck because they come up almost to the bottom of your helmet. So your collarbone breaks greatly reduced, really good internal organ protection on the front and back, and it even inflates down into the tailbone area. What you don't have compared to, say, like a Tech Air vest is like the upper arm, and shoulder socket protection. But frankly, on those units, that inflation point is so thin that it's not a whole lot more than what you already have there armor-wise. If you have CE Level 2 armor, yes, that adds to it, but the CE2 armor does a pretty dang good job. So for me personally, I would rather sacrifice the external and rib, side support and just have the big channels and really protect the neck and collarbones. And that's what this system does. But the great thing about it is you can recharge it at the racetrack. You buy the Helite cart that has the firing pin in it and the pigtail. They're about $85, and you just unplug it, unscrew it, put the new one in, hit the computer, reset it, and you're good to go again. So we rolled it out last year, like I said, and we had some Moto America racers that were the first to crash it, as happens. Yeah, our first ones we installed in Moto America suits were at Brainerd last year, and they had already had their air hide suits for most of the year. They were running different vests in there. Finally, I said, "Hey, get to put your helite in this weekend." And literally, I took those suits back and I hung them up in the trailer or whatever. And the riders messaged me and was like, "I don't think you put my vest in." And I'm like, "No, it's in there. Like, just push the button on the speed hump and it'll turn on. Click it 3 times." And they're like, "Oh, awesome." And they came back. They're like, "Dude, this is so much. I don't even know I'm wearing an air vest." And then we had some crashes that weekend. Very low speed crash on pit road, like end over the bars.
Mm-hmm.
And it deployed. By the time she got over the windscreen, it deployed, and then she's like, "Dude, that would have hurt." Like, I hit the ground. But and then some high speed crashes we've had since then. It's done a really good job. So.
Okay. And how the like the crash sensor, how does that work for that system specifically?
So it's similar to anything else. You have GPS, you have the accelerometers. It's going to determine, there's a track mode and a street mode, and it's super easy. It's a 1-button operation. But if you're in track mode, like I said, it's going to deploy like in a high side situation. By the time you get off the seat, it's deployed. The inflation channels, and if you go to our TikTok or any of our social media, so we have it on Facebook, Instagram. There's a deployment video where I'm wearing one of our Bright Future off-rack suits, and I deploy it, and you can see how much it inflates. So it's pretty poofy. And the downside to that is, like, if you're going to pick the bike up and get right back on the track, you're going to want to deflate it a little bit because, an Alpine Stars vest doesn't poof out like this. This has quite a bit, especially up here, but you definitely are well protected. So you have those, it's going to detect whether you're on the street, whether you're on the road, different algorithms. It's going to detect, like, okay, I need to go off here, or I don't need to, right? So,
Right.
Okay. I know I'm not super well versed in the air systems, but if I remember right, some of the older ones were tethered to the bike.
yeah.
So you did have to physically leave the bike. And we've obviously come a long way with technology, and I think that was kind of almost back in the day when they were still using the bull riding vests, because I believe that's where the idea came from.
It started,
So,
equine vests. Hit Air and Helite both started as equine companies, and transitioned to motorcycles. And so, up until just a couple years ago, we were building our air hide suits with a port, right here on the lower torso, where you could put the tether vest inside the suit and then bring the tether out through the leather and clip it to your bike. And those we've kind of talked people out of that for a few different reasons. They worked fine, but it's just at this point, get an electronic vest. There's the prices are coming down. They're readily available. For a while there, it was getting hard to find, around once COVID hit and supply chain issues. But now there's lots of options out there, a lot of great options. All the In Motion stuff. In Motion makes Climb, Ixon, RST, all those different vests. They all work great, and they work in our suit fine. So anyway, a lot of different options. No need for the tether vest anymore.
all right. Can we talk about the vegan thing?
Easton,
Absolutely.
all bisons are vegan, unless they're in Yellowstone and you're in their territory.
They eat grass, but I thought vegan meant no animals. I'm just curious how you can have since their suits are made of bison leather.
I know.
How can you?
Great. Now they're going to use that one clip and be like, they're made of bison leather.
That's going to be our.
And the gloves are kangaroo.
Actually, the title of this podcast is going to be "They Are Actually Made of Bison Leather."
Oh, great! Yes, the only bison leather racing suit on the market.
No.
Yeah.
But we have cow and kangaroo suits, and then our gloves are all kangaroo. Yeah,
and a
vegan. So let's talk about that one.
Yeah, we actually made the vegan suit by popular demand. We had several customers ask us about it. There were a couple of companies that were doing it in Europe, and they were just hard to. They kind of went away just quietly, and so I said, I see what they are. It's it's these materials, and it's constructed just like any other, but it's different materials. So we got with our factory and said, hey guys, let's get some prototypes made. And what you have is basically 1000D Cordura, main shell. And then you have super fabric, which is a ceramic impregnated, very strong fabric, for lack of a better term. It's on your forearms, your hips, all your slide areas. And So those are kind of the tough parts. That would be in lieu of the Stingray skin,
Mm-hmm.
on our normal leather suits. So it's a great product in the sense that they're very lightweight. They're awesome. They're light. They breathe really well. The people that have them absolutely love them. But I tell people all the time, this is no different than a textile jacket on the street. If you crash, it's pretty much a one crash situation.
Yeah.
We make sure that they protect you as well as they can. But once you fray the cordura in a slide, then it just starts fraying. You got to replace that panel altogether. And so if you tumble, we had a guy crash, and he had a very high speed crash in one of our vegan suits at a track day, and every single panel, he hit every panel. And there were a couple that were frayed. The suit stayed together and it protected him, and he ordered another one. But I said, look, he goes, how much to repair it? And I said, I wouldn't repair it at all. Like, you hit every panel, and even the panels that are structurally sound that look like they're together, they have some fraying starting. Once that starts, just stop. Just you're gonna have to replace the panel altogether because it's just gonna come apart. Is my fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he actually ordered a vegan suit and then got a leather suit also. He got one of each. But yeah, the vegan is a great option for a lot of different people. And I tell this all the time. The exciting thing about vegan, having come from the auto industry, I watched leather in cars go from, like fine Corinthian leather, to like, we have leather made out of pop bottles.
Right.
Like, it's synthetic or it's recycled. Volkswagen, when I left, they had a synthetic leather with an Alcantara insert that was made out of recycled plastic bottles, and you couldn't tell. I mean, you put it next to another car, you'd think it was real. And so I think the industry, we go through a lot of leather in this industry. I mean, we have some riders that go through suits like they're tires.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see how that's going to be sustainable as like environmental agencies and this whole PC culture that we're in right now. It's only a matter of time before we kind of get attacked, honestly. Like, it's already started a little bit, but we try to look ahead at like, all right, like, what's the market going to do? Let's get ahead of it. So we're researching alternative materials, and that's something that our current vegan suit's great, but our idea for the future is like, let's replace leather altogether. And so there's one particular product that we're very excited about. It's made in the United States. We've had some really good talks with them, and we're going to start like doing some durability testing with this product, but it needs some tweaks to work like race suit leather. We'll put it that way. It's a little bit heavy, a little bit stiff, and they're like, okay, but it's a plant-based material. And so that's like really cool, really exciting. But obviously there's a lot of testing that's going to go into that. But the current vegan suit's awesome for a lot of different people. If you are riding on the street, if you are a beginning track day rider and you want something, and you're about vegan and you want something that's light, breathable, everything, vegan's a great option. It's really awesome.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, so I've never thought about that as an option. In my head, you go get a race suit, it's going to be leather. So when I saw the vegan, I was like, what are we talking about? But it makes sense. I like that. The light and breathable actually sounds like almost worth it. If you're looking for longevity, I definitely see your point. Not quite necessarily going to get it out of there, but yeah, that's
cool. They're great for like kart track training,
Yeah.
A lot of kids, like the kids, you put a leather suit on a kiddo. we had some suits last week. We got out of the box, literally like this big. They're tiny. We had some little riders. We're always stoked to see those. But the vegan suit, Cordura suit is a great option for the kids because it's light and it really moves around on them. They don't get overheated and hot. So
they're probably gonna grow out of them before they even crash some.
That too. Yeah. So.
That's a great segue into, I think, what might be our final topic here. I see your Thor custom race suit. We've been on the topic kind of in general, just mentioned, it's always at the end of the podcast too, but youth. How is Bison helping the youth of America to ride motorcycles so that maybe we can have a future again? A very broad question, but
the lifeblood of the sport. These kids on the track.
Yeah,
man.
So a lot of things actually. So we try to do as much as we possibly can with youth. you know, it's interesting. People are always like, when are you guys going to get a super bike rider? And we're like, we'd rather have half the junior cup grid, like versus one super bike rider, you know, like we would much rather support, not that we wouldn't take a super bike rider, but you know, we'd much rather support the up and coming racers, you know? And, so I would say from a sponsorship avenue, that's what we try to do. We try to focus on, you know, starting racing with someone and like going with them through their whole career. But we also, our youth suit that you're probably seeing on the website, it's priced slightly different, actually quite a bit different than I think they're $750, whereas like our entry level Cowhide Thor 1 suit is $1150. The difference for us from a price perspective is very minimal.
Hardly anything. Yeah.
So we are basically giving up pretty much any profits on them to make sure that we can get kids into these suits and their parents can afford to keep them in suits that are safe. And then we recently, last year started, but we've recently started promoting what we call the Gear Up program. So on top of already getting a less expensive suit that's pretty much the same quality.
It is the same, all the same features. I mean, there's a couple features like removable inner liner.
Yeah, little stuff. Nothing like safety wise, but we have a program where if you buy one of those suits and then you trade it in, you can buy another one at, I think it's 30% off of that. So then your second one would be like $500 and some dollars. So the idea is to get the kids in Bison early, keep them in Bison, and then when they transfer into our adult program, your first adult suit is also 30% off. If you stayed.
So that goes all the way up. That's cool. Yeah. That's super cool. I was going to ask about like, do we have a recycle and pass down sort of, because that's the hardest part about kids, right? Especially with suits and gear is they're just growing, and everyone hits it at a different time, right? Everyone's going to hit it at a different rate, and sometimes it's really quick, sometimes it's super slow. So,
our kid Carter, when he got his first custom suit, I measured him, and then obviously we got it pretty quick, you know, because we didn't have to QC it and ship it back out and all that. We got it. I put it on him. It was a matter of like 3 weeks, and he's like, and I had measured him like long. I'd added things, and he put it on. He's like, "Oh, it fits perfect," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure does." And then the next time he went to put it on, he's like, "I can't get it over my shoulder." This was like 2 months later, and he's like, "I can't get it over my shoulder." He wore that suit one time, and then the next time we ordered a second suit. I'm watching his pant legs just get shorter as we're waiting on this suit to come in. And he gets it. He's like, "Oh, it fits perfect." I'm like, "Geez." When we raced this last week, he hadn't tried a suit on for a couple months. And I'm like, "Dude, I hope you fit in that thing." It was like the morning of the race. He put it on. He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "It's a little tighter, but it works." So we get that. We're in the same boat. Like, we got to pay for Carter's suit. We don't get him for free. So we feel that when the kid wears a suit one time, you're like, "Geez, man, come on."
Yeah.
Like, so we try to make it as easy as possible. And to take the gear up things a step further, when you trade in a suit with us, if it's like a perfect suit that like Carter's suit, you could wear it one time, we'll take some patches off, maybe change some colors. We still want it to be unique, and then maybe sell it, you know, at a discounted price. But a lot of times, if they've got a crash or two on them or something, we will donate them to an organization or sell them like super cheap to an org where they can use them as loaner suits or rental suits, like for mini GP programs. You know, and they can get these kids out there that show up in like motocross gear thinking they're going to race on kart track. And they're like, "Hold up, take this," you know? So we're also doing more with flat track now. So we're going to be at more AFT events, but also NFT, which is formerly Extreme Flat Track. We'll be at a lot of NFT events this year. And those guys are going to get some youth rental suits as well, because that's really where people show up to race in motocross gear on the flat tracks. And, they want to start getting them in leathers. So when we get those exchange leathers, we just try to pay it forward where it's like, look, let's get somebody in this where it's going to keep them safe instead of them showing up and trying to send it a t-shirt, you know?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's super good. What's just kind of out of my own curiosity, what's like the smallest, I mean, you guys just kind of mentioned it. You said, I don't know, maybe 3 feet tall.
Let's show this picture. But
Yeah,
what's
see
the
if you can.
tiniest one?
Well, so we actually had a guy, I think he's
Oh,
from
yeah.
Arkansas, super proud, like grandpa moment where dad got his suit. And so then he was like, I got to get my daughter a suit. How small do you make them? Or his daughter. And they wanted one to match dad. And she was like 18 months.
Yeah.
And it was like
tiny.
a replica, and it was big on her, but
She'll grow into it quick.
Yeah, I would say, well,
I don't know. Here's one. This is from last week. This is our daughter Edith, and so she's
Okay.
11, and she's holding this suit up, and it's
go down a little bit.
down. I don't know. This is a glare, but yeah, you can see
Pretty good. Yeah.
how small it
Right
is.
there, good.
There were like 3 of those in the shipment, and of course Edie was like, "It's so cute! Oh my gosh, I got this. Here, I'll take a picture."
But that one was big compared to the other one we
Yeah.
made. I was
18 months. Yeah, that's
small.
that's wild. That's cool. I mean,
I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
I didn't walk yet, like
Yeah. That's cool.
I mean, she walks, but
The other end of the spectrum, we've outfitted like former NFL players, bodybuilders, and also just some really big guys. Like there's a guy in California that came saw us at Laguna, and he's like, "I'm gonna let you guys measure me. I'm gonna order a suit, but I guarantee you it's not gonna fit me. I've never been able to wear a suit." And he's like, "I just want to ride on the track, and I can't do it." I was like, "We're gonna get you on the track, dude." And
he's what, like 6'4", like
oh, it's
I don't know.
huge. Yeah, and he told me all these things, and like literally, I wrapped the tape around him. It goes to like 152 centimeters, and I had to add. I never had to do that before. And he goes, "I don't think it's gonna work." I said, "I promise you, if it doesn't, it won't. But let's try it." And he got it. And he's like, "Dude, I'm going to the racetrack. This is amazing." He sends pictures. He's like, "I never
awesome.
thought it would happen." So that's really rewarding. But yeah, big guys, we can do it.
He didn't go with the vegan option.
No, we burned up all the kangaroos on that one.
Okay. Oh man, kangaroos. I love kangaroos so much.
They're mean.
Do you?
Mean, dude.
No, there's a running joke, I guess, on this podcast about kangaroos and how every single kangaroo suit they have to go to Australia, pick out a kangaroo that matches your size perfectly, and then kill it and skin it.
Yeah.
So for an 18-month-old, you'd have like a probably 3-month-old kangaroo that you have to
Baby
go
Roo.
murder.
Yeah.
Get the baby
Well,
suit.
and if you need to patch a suit, you gotta get them right out of the womb.
Yep.
That's terrible.
I think it's really interesting when you start talking about buffalo and bison. So who knows how that actually works.
5 suits out of 1 bison.
Oh, dude. I didn't even think about it. To this point, I've become so attached to bison, the animals, like I'm like, we can't do it. It would be like cannibalism. At one point, we were going to have beef, or not beef, but we were going to have bison jerky at the racetrack. We have bison jerky. And we had somebody make us some, and it was phenomenal. And we're like, this is the best ever. And I was like, hold up. Like, it's too close to home. Like, I don't think we can do it. So
What you need to do is make a custom suit for, I don't know if he still exists, but Buffalo Bill, the dude that goes out.
He's long gone, but
yeah. Anyway,
Tasha's grabbing one of the bison here. We have this giant bison that sits on our dashboard. He's at the shop.
This is Thor's dad. His name is Odin.
This thing's on our dashboard all the time.
Do people send you those, or you just find them and pick them up?
No, my child saw it when we walked into like a rest area in the
Sands.
the Badlands or something. Yeah. And she's like,
as
soon as I saw it, I was like, we're going home with that thing, aren't we?
Yep.
And he's huge.
That's good. That's awesome. Well,
so we have an attachment to him. To the bison.
Yeah, I think it's a good call not going with the jerky.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think of some other products that are named after animals, and if you showed up with those animals to eat, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I am on the East Coast, and it is anyway.
Wow.
But Cole, did you have anything else?
No, just to say that you'll see another order come across the desk because I need to get a backup suit. I have legitimately loved this suit. You are right. It was a little stiff out of the box, but came in. I mean, they all are, right? But it came in nicely. Really like it. I need some new knee pucks, I'm going to say that again.
Okay.
Have you tried the wood knee pucks?
What?
Yeah, we have wood knee pucks and also a harder compound plastic called TPU as well. So we have 3 different types of knee pucks.
Wood.
But
Wood.
Rob really
Okay,
likes the
wood?
wood one.
The
Wood?
woodies are awesome.
You're
Mhm.
gonna
Wood.
fill the track with sawdust, and then I'm gonna wreck behind you.
Or you just like start burning smoke on
It
them.
smoked. I
smokes.
was following somebody at Hallett in the endurance race. He went by me, and he wasn't in a Bison suit, but he dragged his knee, and there was like a smoke screen coming off his knee. And I got kind of up next to him, like, yeah, those are our woodies.
Cedar.
Yeah,
When did they start doing that? I didn't know they had wood ones. Can you
Yeah.
get like hickory flavored or different?
Yeah.
No, it's just one kind. We
One type of wood.
actually we had a different type of wood, found out things about it, and we have a
Well, it was
different-
illegal to import.
Yeah,
That's
the
what we found out.
things.
If the Fish and Wildlife Service would have caught us with it. A friend of mine's big into guitars, and he goes, "You using this wood for those?" You said, and I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I can't import guitars because it's illegal with that wood." And I'm like, "Nah." I Google it. I'm like, "Oh, geez."
Mhm.
So we had to switch woods, but there's the Janka scale, which is wood hardness scale. This is right up there, the one that we're using, and it works great. Really good feedback, really good feel. They last a long time.
Don't use them at Jersey.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. Which tracks do you say are like the really?
Oh, like rough tracks with big cracks and stuff in them. You know, you feel everything. So those are better for the TPU pucks that have a little bit of TPU rubber in them, so they kind of have some rebound. But the wood puck, man, like use a wood puck at Barber, like, oh man, it's like
glass.
just glides. Really good feedback and feel.
I didn't even.
So.
You guys are
Send
teaching
you guys
me
a
so
pair.
much.
So yeah,
Yeah.
just message us your address and stuff. We'll send you each a pair to try out. So
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Appreciate that.
That would be good.
Yeah.
I'll actually be at Barber in 2 months, so a month and a half.
Okay.
So
Nice.
For Moto America or for a different event?
Moto America and doing the track day on the Monday after. So
Oh,
Okay,
perfect.
cool. Yeah, you'll have to come by and say hi in person then.
Yeah,
we definitely will. Definitely will. I'll be doing that with quite a few people, but we will stop by your tent for sure.
Yeah,
for
go
sure.
get some measurements, Easton, and get you a suit coming. You'll only need half the
There you
tape
go.
measure.
Yeah. So small. Anyway, that's a different topic. But we're gonna wrap this up. Did you guys have anything? You guys are a business, so I don't know if you need to shout anyone out. But anyone you want to shout out or anything else you want to say to the general public before we close shop?
No, we shouted out Grover and Kim already from Sage. I just want to say thank you to everybody. So we're very blessed with an organic following. You know, as a business, you have like your fans, and ours is the herd. And it just kind of happened. We didn't label it. It just happened. We're like, oh, it's like the herd, our people. And it's a big reason that we are where we are. And so we appreciate everybody. We have a lot of sponsored riders, a lot of ambassadors, and that's great. We appreciate the heck out of you guys. But everybody that buys something from us, even if it's just a T-shirt or a hat, you're part of the herd. You don't have to buy a suit. We appreciate every little bit. And yeah, it goes a long way. We're small enough that like we care about every single order. Every order that comes through goes to our phone, and we look at it, and we're like, who's this person? Oh, they're in Utah. We don't have a lot of Utah people, you know, and then we start learning about you, and we go Facebook stalk. No, I'm just kidding. But
We figure out where you
we care
live.
about
And then we
every
forget.
single order. So we appreciate everybody.
Awesome. Well, good to
Perfect.
hear.
And we appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast talking to you guys, and I look forward to running into you at the track sometime.
Likewise.
Barber,
Hopefully it's
though.
this year. Hopefully this season. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll come out your way.
Yeah, and one more quick shout out to our listeners that are not maybe part of the herd yet. Definitely go check these guys out. I'll have links down in the description, the email. Rob, you mentioned a few different things throughout the show, so all that'll be down below. Go click on it. Go check them out. Cole loves those gloves. He talks about those gloves like maybe every week. Before we actually start recording, he's talking about his gloves. And just,
I love it.
he needs 10 pairs of those gloves.
My
So
man.
anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next week.